So I managed to get in yesterday to see Avengers Endgame, and I really want to talk to you guys about it. Though, I don't really feel the need to talk a ton about it in the non-spoiler review. So this review is probably going to feel more like something you'd get from like Jeremy Johns or somebody than what you would get from me normally. That said, and I know I say this a lot, but I mean it this time. The script is already written, and I see no reason why I would throw it out. I am going to talk about this movie more. I don't know if it'll be a theory or an analysis or what, but I have another video planned out as sort of a response to this video that will talk about some of the spoiler stuff in it. I'm even considering an entire series, a 6-part series, analyzing the character arcs of each of the core 6 Avengers and how they do come to a satisfying end in this movie. So if that's something you'd like to see, let me know. And when I say that they came to a satisfying end in this movie, I mean it. Not only was the end satisfying, but this did feel like an end to all of their past story arcs. Some more final than others, I will say. I won't tell you who, but main characters, members of the core 6, do die in this movie. But the deaths that occur, they don't feel gratuitous. They feel earned by the narrative, and they don't feel out of character. The characters who do die, they die giving their lives for their friends and family, and I don't believe for a moment that that's not the choice they would make in this situation. And yes, the movie was written in such a way that they were put in the position to make that choice, but that's how drama is written. Like, I'm bummed out that there were deaths, but I understand why they're here. I do believe that they make the story stronger by their presence. But the other core members, they all get satisfying ends to their arcs as well. Overall, this movie felt like a season finale, which I think is fitting because the MCU at this point feels like a very long season of television that you go to the theater to watch every few months rather than watching it from your home every week. Like, I know there's some backlash against these movies at this point, and if you don't like them, that's fine. I just don't feel like people should be hating on those who do. And I know one of the reasons for that backlash is that these movies feel kind of samey, but I kind of expect them to at this point. They are part of an ongoing series. The episodes of a TV series feel kind of samey too. There's episodes that are more experimental. You're going to get episodes like that, but they're going to come few and far between. You're going to get more episodes that feel like the episodes around them. That's why they're part of a series and not individual vignettes. This is the same way. They are intended to feel like one long narrative. That's the point. And if that's not something you enjoy, that's fine. I would just recommend that you move on. I see a lot of people complaining about it more than I feel like they rightfully should. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Just wanted to get it out there. That said, despite the fact that this did feel like an MCU movie, it did feel like part of that series, there is still a lot here that didn't really remind me much of past installments. They did a lot here that felt new and fresh. The way they showed how people were having trouble dealing with what Thanos did, I thought worked out really well. No one in the MCU, except maybe Thor, but he hadn't really even had a chance to process it yet before all of this started, has ever really dealt with loss on this scale. Seeing these characters on the verge of breaking down because all of the loss that they're feeling, and yet still rising up to do what they had to do to put things as right as they possibly could, it was inspiring to me. And granted, you're not going to get that same feeling from this movie if you aren't invested in the characters, and there are some people who just can't get invested in these characters. I understand that. Which is why I will not say that this is a great movie on its own. I will say that this is a great MCU movie. It's a great finale to Act 1 or Season 1 or however you want to say it of the MCU. But as a standalone movie, it's just okay. You can enjoy the melodrama and the costumes and the explosions, but you're not going to get anything more out of it than that unless you already have some investment in these people in their world. That's why I don't agree with some critics who are saying that you can enjoy this as a standalone movie without seeing any of the previous ones. I mean, you probably can, certain aspects of it. I mentioned the explosions, right? But that enjoyment is going to be very superficial. You're going to be enjoying it in spite of the things that make it a good Marvel Universe story rather than because of them. I also, though, don't agree with some critics who are saying you have to have seen every single past MCU movie to get this one. That's also not true. I would say if you've watched the Iron Mans and the group team-up movies, that includes Captain America Civil War, and of course Infinity War, you will understand this movie and get almost as much out of it as anyone else who has seen all of the past movies. Like, if you've been following the rumor mill around this movie, like not straight up spoilers, but the rumors around this movie, you may be worrying that there are certain movies that you skipped that you need to see to understand a portion of this movie. That's all I'll say on that matter. And it helps. Like, I will say, if you're someone who skipped Thor the Dark World, rightfully so, it will help you to understand this movie in one little area a little bit better if you do take the time to go and watch it. But you don't need to. This movie makes sure that you understand everything that's going on that relates back to Thor the Dark World. You don't need to know it, but it helps if you do. It helps jumpstart your enjoyment if you do. And if you're someone who actually likes Thor the Dark World, first of all, I'd like to get in touch with you. I've always dreamed of discovering a cryptid, but you'll get even an extra kick out of the scenes that I'm referencing. I will say, as a movie itself, because it is so actiony and so punchy, and you can get such a blockbuster kind of thrill out of it, especially the third act. The third act is magnificent. It's around a 6 or a 7. But as an MCU movie, as the capstone to this first act of the series, it's like an 8.5 or a 9. It's really high up there. It's not perfect. There are questions that it begs but doesn't quite answer. There are a couple of things I wish they had done exactly the way they did them, but I still enjoy the way they did them. I just would have preferred something slightly different. So it's not perfect, objectively or subjectively, but it's very high up there. It's a very good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I haven't seen it more than once at this point. I usually watch a movie more than once before I do one of these reviews, but it's burned into my mind. It's that eventful. I don't think I will ever forget the more dynamic moments of this movie, even if I never see it one more time in my entire life. If you are a fan of the MCU, and for some reason you have reservations about seeing this movie, absolutely ignore them, but I can't imagine anybody like that exists unless you just don't want to see the end, which I can't understand. But as much as this movie feels like an end, as much as this feels like a season finale, it's also very plain that there's going to be a season 2, and the way they leave things with certain characters, I can't wait to see where they go with that. I'm so excited. Like, I'm bummed that Act 1 is over, but I'm so excited for Act 2 and all the cool shit that it could bring to the table.
Language!
Now, before I say this last thing, you know what's coming. Don't spoil the endgame. Just don't do it. I'm going to be policing the comments of this video. If I see you spoiling the endgame without making sure that you have it tagged as a spoiler appropriately, I am going to snap my fingers and make your comment disappear. But, as per usual, I'd like to know, what do you guys think of Avengers Endgame if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.